Welcome to Off the Page. I'm Will Cain. Today I'm with National Review's Ramesh Ponnuru. What, the smartest guy on staff? Smartest guy in the corner? Is that right, Ramesh?
That's my opinion, and I can't imagine anyone having the temerity to contradict it.
No, the consensus seems to be with you. So, Ramesh, we've got a fairly significant populist push to repeal Obamacare. But I want to know, is that a realistic goal? Is that a realistic hope for conservatives?
Well, I think it's realistic enough to be the basis for organizing. It's one of those questions where a calculation of the odds, while important, is sort of secondary. If conservatives mean what they said about Obamacare, then there really is no choice but to continue fighting it. You can't have a revival of limited constitutional government or free markets or self-reliance in this country if you don't try to undo Obamacare. And I think that it is sufficiently badly designed that there are a lot of opportunities for opponents to undo it.
What would have to happen logistically for a repeal effort to be successful? What kind of political wins would be necessary?
Well, we've seen some of the things that would have to happen. They've already happened. I mean, we need the law to pass without it generating any bounce in terms of Obama's approval rating or the Democrats in Congress's approval rating or support for the legislation. All of those things have happened. That is, that it passed, but there was no such bounce. Republicans are beginning to coalesce around the idea of repeal. So these are some of the preconditions. This fall, I think, well, between now and this fall, Republicans have to use a variety of means to keep the issue alive, sort of to keep hope alive for repeal, and then need to make some big gains in the November elections. I think Republicans have to take back the House for this to be viable. And then they've got to play their cards right and fight the right fights to frame the issue for repeal, to make repeal one of the top issues in the 2012 elections.
Wouldn't Republicans have to control the House, the Senate, and the presidency to have something like this be successful?
I think ultimately it is extremely likely that you have to have all three in order for the Republicans to successfully repeal. And that's why the 2012...
When's the last time they had control of all three branches of the legislative and executive, the two legislative houses and the executive? When's the last time they had all that?
They lost control in January 2007.
They had all three at that time?
Yes.
Okay. So not unheard of.
No, it's not unheard of. Absolutely.
Yeah,
and I think Republicans have a better than even shot at taking the House this fall.
Yeah, but here's something stickier, Ramesh, okay? So
Sure.
What if Republicans have it? Is there really Republican support to repeal it? Look, a week after the thing passed, John Cornyn said, we wouldn't want to repeal it all. We'd want to keep a few elements like the pre-existing conditions, which is kind of like the linchpin of the whole deal.
Right.
And he wasn't alone. I mean, several others jumped on the bandwagon right behind him. So how could we even count on any Republican support for repeal?
Senator Cornyn very quickly, I think partly spurred by a corner post of mine criticizing him, clarified his remarks and suggested while there are some reforms he wants to see to take care of people who have pre-existing conditions, he is for repeal. Senator Corker made a statement which sounded as though he was pouring cold water on repeal, and then he made it clear all he meant to say was that it's not going to be possible to really repeal it until 2013 at the earliest because you need a new president.
I'm sure that's what he meant.
I think in general, actually, the Republicans have been pretty good, and you really don't see a lot of vocal opponents of repeal right now. But there's no question that conservatives are going to need to keep Republicans' feet held to the fire and to make it clear that this is a priority item for conservatives. And then secondly, this has to be seen by Republicans as a winning issue. If Republicans think of it as a losing issue, then they will abandon it. If Obamacare gains in popularity, if at some point it proves enduringly popular, well, then it is going to be here to stay, no question.
Well, I think, tell me if you think I'm wrong, I think the first test of this is going to be in Republican primary races. It's going to serve as sort of a truth serum, a truth-telling mechanism on who is going to be behind any kind of repeal effort.
That's right. And there's no the repeal and replace message is going to be the winning message in the Republican primaries. The second test is going to be Republicans who are running against Democrats particularly in these House races, Democrats who voted against Obamacare, they have to be put on the spot. They have to be asked, will you support repeal? And that has to be because Republicans are not going to be able to take back the House unless they pick off some of these sort of false, phony opponents of Obamacare on the Democratic side, the ones who are really against it, but who Nancy Pelosi allowed to vote against it because she didn't need their votes.
Interesting. Not good enough to not vote for it. Now you have to vote against it. Hey, you guys can check out Ramesh in the Corner and follow me on Twitter at Will Cain to see what interviews are coming up. Thanks, Ramesh.
You're welcome.